right. Welcome to the Table of Reason podcast, where we intend to serve up some meaningful conversations about anything and everything. Nothing is off the table here. I'm your host, Dylan Scott. Thanks for joining us today. This podcast was started with the intention of helping to restore open dialogue, which I believe to be a great light in a very dark world. At the table, we will explore crucial cultural topics from education to faith, healthcare, marriage, you name it. My goal is to create a platform where people can speak freely, dive into issues that matter to them, and no fear of repercussions. Let's just have a conversation. Today, we're just setting the table for what's to come, and we'll dive right in after a quick word from our sponsors. Are you tired and stressed out from all the constant scrolling and 24-hour news cycles? You might want to take a 10-minute break with Mindful Messages, the perfect app to help you pause and reflect, process, and ground your thoughts. This cutting-edge app knows when you're stressed out, and it's designed to provide you with the pause that you need to rejuvenate with soothing meditations and inspiring quotes. And it's going to add some much-needed peace to your day, just 10 minutes. So visit mindfulmessages.com, use code TABLE20, and you'll get 20% off. Just tell them Dylan sent you. So let's get into it. So joining me today at the table is a lovely couple. I have my little brother Zachary here. I have his amazing girlfriend Penelope, and Zach and Lopes. I just want to say thank you so much for joining me today. Let's dive right
Thank
in,
you for
shall
having
we?
us. Yes.
All right. So today, like I said, it's gonna be all about. Excuse me, I have something in my throat. I don't know what's going on. We're going to talk about open dialogue, just kind of like how vital it is for society, guys. Just having good faith conversations, being able to really discuss anything and everything. And I think a crucial part of that is being able to have your mind changed. I think if two people go into a conversation, both like with a willingness to, be persuaded about something, I think that is what meaningful, good faith dialogue is. Whereas the division seems to kind of stem from people being stubborn or like unwilling to have like their worldviews challenged or pressed. And I think that's kind of what leads to like this crazy violence. And I think one of the big things really is like echo chambers, like this really polarized news cycle that we have. Social media just kind of feeding you with, um, whatever it is that you want. Like if you like something left leaning or right leaning, like it's just going to bombard you with that. So I just kind of wanted to get you guys' thoughts on that. I'm a millennial. You guys are what, Gen Z? Lopes, you might be alpha. I don't even know.
Whenever Facebook or Instagram decides what way you lean, that is all you're going to see. You're not going to see the other people's opinions, and you just get fed one way or the other. And like you said, that typically when people can't sit down and disagree in a conversation, I think the world tends to violence.
But like, what do you think that does to society, right? So you have one person that like all they're seeing is one side of an issue. Like they're not even seeing. So like you could be looking at one thing and being fed something, or there's a story that like about. They're like, I'll never even know about. Like it'll just never come to me. And we're both just gonna go about the world just in totally different ways.
Parallel universes, really.
Right. So it's almost like you have a bunch of people that aren't on the same planet. You know what I mean? And I don't know, like, what do you like? Can society thrive like that? Like, can we actually like continue to, I don't know, coexist?
I think it would just completely divide the world, right? I don't. Could it survive? Yes, but would it be a world worth living? Probably not.
Right. So like the entire structure in which we're built upon obviously is the First Amendment. And with that deteriorating, right? I mean, what can we do to fix that, to bring that back?
It's tough. It's tough because everyone's stuck in their ways. You get most people that they won't even sit down to have a conversation. A lot of people I even went to high school with, you can't bring up a left or right side conversation at all. Someone gets angry and they walk away. They can't even talk it out. No one can ever admit they're wrong. Everyone's right no matter what.
Yeah, I think it's pretty odd. Penelope, do you find that like in kind of like what you see is it's very much just geared towards you, like the whole algorithm thing?
Yeah, it's definitely geared towards me, I'd say. I think with like my work though, I see a lot of different views of sides that I don't see, so that's kind of enlightening, but not on the media.
So like for everybody that doesn't know, like what is your line of work? Like what do you do?
Like mental health, behavioral stuff. So a lot of that side is like very, I guess, opposite of what I believe, kind of. I
Mm.
don't know how to describe it, but it's just new. It's nice to see, but it is definitely different.
Gives her a different outlook, right? Like her clients will have, like you said, they're the parallel universe. They're fed completely different things than us,
Yeah.
and vice
Helps me
Mm.
versa.
keep an open mind though, for sure.
Do you ever find that people like a lot of like what they're struggling with has to do with like just not being able to communicate or feeling like, they're not being heard or they're like outcasted in any way? Like, do you feel like communication has to do with a lot of people's just like psychological issues?
Yeah, I feel like the isolation of just everyone having different lives and different viewpoints and everything targets us in some way. Um,
Mm.
Even your ads, right? They're getting you everywhere.
what was
Oh
that? There
yeah.
was just a study by Facebook where they had they changed like the algorithm so that it would mess with people's emotions and it like broke a bunch of ethical codes, but like that showed, I don't know, that it affected people's moods based on what they
Well, and
see.
I think that's kind of what I wanted to drive into, right? Was like, where is the line for this? Like, what is the ethical limitations? Where, like, in my opinion, right, it doesn't seem like it's free speech if you have people that are, being corralled. Like, how free can it really be um, if it's manipulated? You know what I mean? If you're constrained, like, are you free? Like you can
Mm.
say a lion's free while it's in its cage, but like if there's somebody putting you in a cage, like is that actually free speech at that point?
Yeah, no, I mean you got a good point. I I would argue that it's almost not. Like yeah, we can all definitely say what we want, and we're kind of in a world now where everyone has a platform, right? You know what I mean? Everyone has a way to kind of get involved and make heinous comments on Twitter or horrible things on an Instagram
It's
post, and
X now.
yeah,
Mm,
excuse me, X, but you get what I'm saying.
yeah.
Everyone can say these horrible, horrendous, awful things, and you see it all the time.
Well, there seems to be a big switch happening when it comes to speech. Because it seemed like there was a giant push for like cancel culture, right? Where certain topics seem to be like extremely taboo. You couldn't say the R word; it became the R word.
Yeah,
Like it seemed like there's just so many topics where it's like you couldn't discuss these things, right?
that's the
And
world
now
getting
it's
soft.
yeah, but it seems like the world like totally shifted where now it's like it went from everything was like restricted to now people like there's no guideline now. Like you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
If you pull up X, for example, like that's one where it's like you're going straight into some pretty deep.
Cesspool of humanity.
Exactly. That's a good way
But
of putting
and I mean, it's honestly crazy. I was just reading something the other day about how in the UK, uh, UK and in Germany, those two places, you can get arrested for comments you put out. They can actually like you look in America and you look on X. I mean, how many death threats to people like Charlie Kirk and other people like that were getting on the daily? Nothing ever happened with them here. You know what I mean? But yet you get on a plane and go 9 hours away and you do that same thing. They're actually gonna kick down your door and throw a flashbang in and bring you to jail. It's pretty crazy.
Right. Yeah, I was seeing that there's a lot of people that being charged with felonies over in the UK for just words or like or like there was a meme going around that like they're getting arrested. They started free speech, like the whole idea of free speech kind of came
Yeah,
from England, and now they're getting arrested for Facebook posts. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. It's honestly absurd.
What was the first one? It was that like the Hitler dog or something, right? Like that guy had started it off where he had like a little bulldog or something. I don't even remember what the story was. But he ended up getting arrested because he like had it doing like, a Roman salute or whatever. So I mean like
Yeah.
I guess like my where I wonder, right, is like what is the line? Like what like
Mm.
where should that line be of what is acceptable conversation and like what isn't? Because like when you have people being radicalized to the point where like you brought up Charlie Kirk, right? I mean, how do we get to that point? How do, like, you know what I mean? Like what got us to a point where not being able to share ideas out of, being assassinated. Um like how is that a normal thing?
I honestly, I think you get 100 people in the room. There's going to be 100 different lines on where the line should be. You know what I mean? But when it comes to like these people that get absolutely radicalized, whether you're far right, far left, it's that parallel universe thing. We pull up that kid's Facebook versus my Facebook. He's in a completely different world. You know, and
Right. So like would you say that like like the whole echo chamber idea of being immersed in your own, ideology like is a contributing factor to that?
yeah, definitely, definitely. I think you should see both sides of the coin. You know what I mean? I remember during the election time, the election before the last one. I would literally have to like look stuff up about Joe Biden to even get anything to pull up about him because I did
Right.
my entire page like obviously a big Trump guy, but like I couldn't find any information about Joe Biden. Like nothing would ever pop up. It would only be
Yeah. So I find it funny too, because like I'll even hear people like because I feel like I get a lot more like of the pro right type things, more of the Christian conservative type, messaging for me, right? Like my news feed, for example, right now is flooded with Pastor Vodi Bachum's passing. You know what I
yeah.
mean? You go talk to 25 people. If one of them knows who Vodi Bachum is, I'll be surprised. But my entire news feed is like that. When the election was happening, everything I got was like so pro Trump messaging that
Mm,
like the only time I saw anything with like Kamala Harris, it was like trolling her. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
her word salads and all these things. Um, so it is interesting because then like I'll hear somebody talk about Trump and then like they'll be like so negative, and I'm like, like where do you get that from? Because I don't even see that. Like I have to go looking to find the negative things about Trump,
Exactly,
where like
exactly,
they
and
don't
that's
even
what
know
skews
any good
people's
things.
minds.
Yeah, like well,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you'll see the same incident, right? Like you'll see, like the immigration thing, or you'll see anything, whatever. Just pick your issue. On our side, we'll get the yahoos and whatever. Like we have Pete Hegseth all of our feed going, yeah. And you go see somebody else, and they have AOC going, oh, the Nazis are coming.
Yeah.
How do we bridge that? Like, is there a way even to bridge that? You think?
I don't know. I
Like,
really don't know if it's. I don't know if it's fixable. You know what I mean?
Like
I
is our country so cooked that like there is like no chance of like reconciliation? You think?
I see,
Like when it
especially
comes to
my
speech.
generation. Yeah,
Yeah.
like it scares me. Right? We look at like our little cousins, like Devin, Alexa, like that age group. I can't even imagine. I imagine if you were, the you had Twitter when you were in third grade, like these people. Most of them they had iPhones before I even had a bicycle. So I think it's going to just create such a different outlook. You have people in seventh grade that look like they're 25, and I think all these little things it's just creating for a very very different world, and that's truly just going to get worse. I
I
don't see
agree.
how you could change that in such a godless world.
Mm. So I have a Gallup poll, right? And basically, like, if you do like really right and moderately right, really left, moderately left, right? And then you just kind of have the in the middle, which actually the moderates I found out, I think it was like 52 to 42. They typically kind of are left leaning, let's just say. But in a Gallup poll from 2024, right, it's 37% conservative, 26% liberal, then 34% moderate. But like, let's kind of just call that like 30, 30, 30, essentially, right?
Mm,
Uh, it seems like there's like just like three camps in which people live, right? You either are like conservative and you became way more conservative because like, and I think anybody will admit it, like, even like left leaning news sources have been saying that the left is going more left. So
yeah.
where somebody used to be kind of in the middle, like they're now to the right. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So it seems like you have left,
Especially recently.
middle, right, and then you have right. Like, you know what I mean? And it just seems like I don't know. There's always been a divide, obviously, right? But it seems like the divide is getting more noticeable. It's been getting more extreme, right?
Definitely.
And but like, do you think so? All right, you know what? I'm gonna play this clip real quick, and it's an old one, right? It's just it's an audio, but it's an old one. But so you'll know. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can pull this up.
Our democracy. This is extremely dangerous to 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 our democracy.
All the
So
same
like,
day.
well, I don't know if it was the same. It was all basically through like the same outlet, but it's like it's very clear from that, right? And I mean, that's only a segment of that. Remember, they had like the
Yeah,
whole
but
layer.
and then it layers in and out though, doesn't it? And it was all
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have every news station you could ever name.
yeah. Well, I didn't want to do the ones where they're all talking at the same time because then that, I mean, that just
Yeah.
it gives me a headache. But like I think that like makes the like it gets the point across, right? Is that like you watch somebody on the news, right? Like you watch like a news anchor and they're talking to you, but they really are just a talking head at the end of the day, right? Like,
Yeah.
am I wrong by that? Like, so
Oh
like
yeah,
you
yeah,
might get like
definitely.
some of their personality and their flair, but what they're saying is
Isn't
not
their word.
they're not things that they thought of, right? It's not things that they believe. They're just like a vessel for getting the point across, and that's the
They're the
whole
puppet. That's all. That's all it
right.
is.
You know what I mean? But they're
Yeah.
very good at their job, and I commend them for it and whatever else. I mean, you look at it, Don Lemon. I think the guy's totally an ideologue. I think he's nuts, but he's very effective. He's very
Yeah.
fluent. He's very don't get me wrong. But I guess like the thing is right, like this divide that we're seeing. I don't think it's organic. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that it's just because people have been like, having crazy worldview. I think it's like by design. Like, I feel like, I don't know, you guys might have thoughts on this of just like, you know, is it top down or is it down up?
So I think it was fear sells, right? Fear sells for years. Since look at 9/11, what news was like before 9/11, right? You look at old news clips. They seem to have their own thoughts then. Then after all these things happen in our world, it's getting more and more and more divided. And I truly think that is because you look at fear is everywhere. I mean, you look at it on everything. There's a Ebola outbreak. I just got a thing in the a text about West Nile virus in Holden. Like people, so it's just constantly you're reading stuff about fear, and I think that fear causes a division.
Well, do you remember the Corona ticker that they had for every death?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Like every day you turn on the news, like yesterday it was like 5 million, then it's like 8 million, and you literally just every time grandma died or something, I mean, tell me that one, tell me that wasn't pandering to fear.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know. I
yeah.
mean, it
You'd
was
have suicides marked as COVID deaths, and it was
right.
absurd.
Just drove
So,
people
so
to.
I think that I think fear is kind of used to kind of control people, and I
Mhm.
think that like the more that people are being fed these ideologies and like these um it's the villainizing, right? That
Yeah.
that turns this so sour. When
Well,
when you have
and
somebody like Charlie Kirk being called all these things, it's like, they when they were celebrating, they were saying like a good Nazi is a dead Nazi. I agree with that. I agree. Like this man truly is like I'm not saying like go and shoot him by any means, but at the end of the day, like we fought in World War II. Who were we fighting? Nazis, and
yeah.
I'm glad we did, and I'm
I
glad we
think to
won.
just answer your question, I think it would be from the up down, right? I
Mm.
think it would be from not even presidents, right? Not even a political party, not even there's some higher being it would seem that causes that drift. Whether it's one of these, who are these guys where even like Jeff Bezos buying all these news places and all,
That's
when
a
you
good point.
have this division, when you have Charlie Kirk or people like that, you have Irina, whoever, pick whatever you want. When you get into like those big divisions, it sells.
And it keeps people enslaved, is like what I've noticed. And it's on all
Yeah.
sides. And like, and I'm not talking some like from the stance of somebody who's like breaking all these bonds of, you know what I mean? I'm not claiming enlightenment here, but I think that, if people were to say that we're not being controlled or manipulated in some way through like these algorithms, I would think that that's naive personally.
Yeah, that's arrogant. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that that's a pretty crazy claim to make. And there's a quote, right, from JFK in 1962. And I want to get you guys' thoughts on this and we can kind of wrap it up here. But back in 1962, this is what JFK said. He said, "Those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable."
Ooh.
So my thing, right, is that like or my question that I have for you is, are we past peaceful resolution? Like, can we have like resolutions through like a peaceful revolution, or is it like past that?
I think we're
I know
past
it's a
that.
loaded. That's a tough one. I'm sorry.
That's a
What?
very loaded question,
It's
Yeah,
a
because
very
I mean, I think,
or I
but
guess,
the problem is, you get 100 people in the room, and maybe one of them would say that violence is the answer. You know what I mean? It's not a very common answer, because obviously you have to be pretty.
I don't know though. I don't know if after all the people that were so okay with Charlie Kirk being executed in cold blood, I think a lot more people are open, like regardless of whether or not they have the courage to go through with it, or if they're willing to actually, die for what they believe in. You
Act.
could argue. I think people are okay with violence happening.
Do you think that's the next step? You think that's what's
No,
happening?
I really don't think it is, but I think more people want violence as a solution than like I would be willing to admit a month ago. Or I would not have
Yeah.
a month
I
ago.
one of my customers, he runs a very large tree company, and literally I see his posts on Facebook every day, and he is out there talking about how they need to arm militias, and they should be down in DC shooting all these people, and just heinous stuff. And he's not a bad guy, but I've watched him get radicalized. You know what I
Right.
mean? And
So
that's
it's not an echo
really,
chamber. Right.
and if it's almost to the point where it's now his addiction, and every single day he's posting something like that, and
Mm.
it it's sad, I because
Yep.
maybe where he's coming from isn't evil, but the outcome is.
Right. Well, but that's the thing though, right? Is like it, think about like the American Revolution. Okay. It took like a few small incidences. You take off just enough people, and next thing you know, you just created an entire war that, like, France had to get involved into this one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it wasn't like I don't know. I just I do get worried, right? Is that like all it takes is a handful of radical people. A few bad apples will spoil the entire bunch. Is my opinion.
100%.
So I
I
guess
mean,
like
you think of it like that though, and back then, I mean, most of that was started off. What was the tax on tea? 8
2%.
2%.
So
Dylan, how much got taken out of your check last week?
oh,
You know what I mean? So it's almost like we're
5%,
there.
yeah.
It's like we're there. Like I could,
Right.
it's sad to think about all those people that laid their life down to create America and what it's turned into. I'm paying
Mm,
a property tax, an excise tax, an income tax, a sales tax. They tax
right.
me when I die. If I died tomorrow and you went to take the money out, you're going to pay a death inheritance tax. They tax you on your tax. It is
Right.
absurd.
Right. Well, but
So
it's funny too because like people are starting revolutions and killing people over that. But if you go to a
mhm.
college campus and you tell them that Christ is Lord or whatever, or you say something that just offends, which granted, were things offensive? I don't know. I don't think so. But I am also a Christian, so I don't know. But what I can say is that he wasn't taking 40% of your paycheck. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
he's the
yeah,
guy that
yeah.
we're dying. I don't know. To me, that seems silly. So I guess like two just wrap up questions, right? Is how do we fix that? Like what's a way to
Forward.
have a peaceful revolution? What's a practical way? And then what's one thing you would tell that next generation, like Devin and Alexa, like what would you say to them to avoid continuing this? I want to end this. Like this podcast and things like this. Like I want people to be able to have these conversations But ultimately, I want to fix it. Because even if you disagree with me, you can hate me. You can say, "Oh, you're a Christian, you're white, you're whatever it is." I don't know. I have blue eyes. That's probably evil somehow. But my whole thing is like, I want to figure out how do we bridge that gap. Like that's what I want to do. I want to have a conversation where it's like, yeah, you might be offended, but we don't have to die over it, do we?
What do you think?
I don't know.
Well, I feel like in light of the Charlie Kirk stuff, I feel like I didn't really know anything about him before then. This is going somewhere. I didn't know anything about him before then, but then I started watching his stuff, and I'm sad that everything had happened, and it shouldn't have happened. Like no one should have assassinated him, whatever. But I didn't agree with a lot of the things he said, but I still don't think that means that you assassinate someone. So I feel like for the next generation, I think definitely stressing how important it is to be compassionate and open-minded to like everyone's ideas and not use that as ammo to
Fuel the war.
to fuel the war. Yeah.
And your second
I don't know how
part,
to fix that, but yeah.
what I
I
would
love
say to the next generation is keep both your ears open. When I was getting all that stuff about the election, I was actually sitting there and Googling, trying to throw off my algorithm to actually hear about.
A counter, like you want a counter argument.
Yeah, exactly. But like
I
I sit down
created
with
a
my
fake
buddy Sam.
yeah,
You
I
sit down
created
with
a
some of
fake account.
these. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. Just be like, give me some liberal stuff, but it's
because
good.
you can't find it. It
You need an alter ego profile
you
Literally,
do.
yeah.
for everything. Let's make fake Instagrams.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but I don't know. I don't know how that's fixed, and that's the big question, isn't it?
Well, so my one little piece of advice to everybody, right, is something our mother taught us. Sticks and stones may break your bones, but words can never hurt me. All right, guys, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on. This was a fun episode. I know it's a little awkward. It's the first one. But yeah, you guys were super helpful, and this was a great talk. And I hope to have you guys back on. I think actually the next one, if you guys don't mind, is going to be on relationships. You know what I mean? And kind of
Oh,
like
we're perfect
like
for that one.
dating.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, like dating in general. So I think having you guys back on, or maybe I'll just make you guys my guests for, the whole kit and caboodle. I mean, you guys are the
The
best. So
foreseeable future. Yeah, no, this was nice,
yeah.
and it was great talking to you, bro.
All right. I love you guys.
I love you too. We'll talk soon.
All right. Catch you.
Bye.
That's going to do it for today. Thank you, everybody, for joining us at the Table of Reason podcast. Stay tuned for future episodes as we continue to tackle the big topics and set the table for open dialogue. If you would like for us to have a seat for you at the table, send an email to tableofreasonpodcast@gmail.com. And we'll see you next time where we'll explore all things college, actually. So I was wrong with the relationship thing. But, Lopes went to college, so maybe we'll have her back on. And as always, don't forget to subscribe, share, and hit the lights on your way out. Take care, everybody.